everyone, welcome back to my channel, and today we are doing a fall florals card. I'm trying to get into the fall spirit even though it is still very hot here in Texas at the time of filming this video, but I am anxious for fall, and so I'm going to do some fall florals. So the first things first, I have this color inspiration which came from the Color Cube volume 1. This is card number 455. Yes. And then I picked some of my artist markers that match or that play very nicely off of that color combination. So I have, from the Warm Gray family, I have Moon Rock and Evening Gray. From Fall Harvest, I have Sicilian, Amber, Butternut, Yellow Ochre, Pumpkin Pie. From Warm and Cozy, I have Firebrick, and then I'm also going to bring in some Jet Black later on. I am using an Altenew stamp set that they send. If you purchase from them, I'm not really sure how it works, but I typically get a small little stamp set with my name around their anniversary, and so this is Happy 8 from them. I'm using this embossing folder from Sizzix and Ellison. If you happen to know the name of it, be sure to drop that in the comments below. I am not entirely sure, but it is absolutely stunning when I go to dry emboss this, or when I use this embossing folder. It is beautiful. And then I'm using some Spellbinders dies. I just wanted the plain circle from that die set. So I'm going to take this stamp out, and I am going to place this in my Mini Misty, and I'm going to stamp this image out twice. For the design and layout I have planned, I want 2 of these images so I can kind of layer them together and help them to fill out the center of my card. So lately I have been doing a lot of non-coloring coloring, as far as the background has been where all of the color has come from. Just because I have mentioned before, I am not huge into coloring. I'm not very good at it. I don't really enjoy it all that much. There are times where I want to color, and so I can do that in small doses, and this is one of those instances. So for me, a small stamp is a great way to just use my supplies, get a little practice in, and this stamp is good in the sense that it has an image that is a little bit larger, so you can practice your strokes, you can practice your ink blending, and then it has some smaller images where really adding that dimension is not very necessary, or you can get away with having fewer markers. So this is a good image for me as far as trying to practice and use my supplies. So I am going to stamp this image out twice. I'm using my Gina K Amalgum Obsidian ink. I think in previous videos I've been calling it Onyx Black. It is not. It is called Obsidian, and I will try to be better about using the right words, the right name of things. So I am going to stamp this out a few times. Because I have stamped this out a few times, I am going to heat set it just a little bit. I did get some smearing in the floral centers. It's not greatly noticeable, and even though I did heat set it, I still did get some. Because this is going to be kind of a darker flower and the center is going to be gray, it's not quite as bad a deal. If I was doing this in pink or some other color, that would be a bigger deal. So here I'm going to heat set it, not only the front but the back. I find that if I heat set from the back, that just kind of helps with warping. But once I heat set that, I'm going to go into the coloring. I'm using my artist markers today, and here I'm showing you that these artist markers have a bullet nib and then they have a brush nib. I used to have a big collection of Copic markers, and I got rid of those several months ago, maybe about a year ago now. I gave them to my daughter. I struggled when I first bought them. I bought like a big variety pack, and I thought, okay, these will all have markers that blend together, but they didn't. And so I found myself getting very frustrated, and I just didn't enjoy using them. And then I've discovered these Altenew artist markers that not only match their inks, but they match their paper, and they match their sprays and their watercolors. But the biggest thing, the biggest draw for me Not only do they have a bullet nib and a brush nib, which a lot of your Copic markers have a random like chisel nib, which nobody ever really uses. But these are made to blend together, and I don't have to sit there and think about it. I don't have to test a bunch of things out. They're made to go together, and that is the biggest draw for me and the biggest help for me. I apologize, I zoomed in and then I proceeded to color off screen, so that's not very helpful. But what I'm doing here is I took the lightest marker and I went over the entire image, and then I'm taking the darkest marker and placing in where shadows would be. I have discovered I am very heavy-handed. I imagine that that will improve with time and with practice, but for now I am very heavy-handed, and so I try to use the lightest marker over the entire image, and then I go through with the darkest and apply that where two things lay on top of each other or where I want something to be the darkest. And then I go through and I add the other colors. So the colors that you should see the least are your darkest, and your lightest. The colors that you should see the most are your midtones. That's going to help give you dimension. It's going to help you give interest with the least amount of effort, I guess you could say. The other thing I'm doing is I end up going back over it. So if I discover that I go over the entire image with my lightest color. If I discover that I've lost a lot of my darkness and my dimension, I will go back and apply some of the darkest color. And one of the other things I did is these floral centers, I went over with that lightest color at the very beginning. Well, I knew I was going to color those in gray. So that is going to give me a different color tone because I've essentially glazed it than what the leaves are going to be, because I did the leaves in the grays. So that's going to give me a little different color than the floral centers are going to have a little bit of a different tone than the leaves, just because I did do some of that glazing. So it has that, yellowy, orangey color underneath it. Here I used my brother's Scan and Cut to fussy cut these out for me. I'm not into fussy cutting, but you can fussy cut these out. I just decided to use my brother's Scan and Cut to do so today. And then I'm taking a Memento Tuxedo black marker and I am going around the edges of this. This is going to make it look like I cut right on the line, that I am a super awesome fussy cutter, of which I am not. You don't want to use an artist marker or an alcohol marker to do your coloring or going over these edges, because it could cause your inks to bleed. So using a water-based marker is the way to go. I do this from the back because I have a tendency to slip. And if I slip, it's on the back, which is going to be glued down and no one will ever see, as opposed to if I was trying to go over these edges from the front. If I slip, I'm going to slip on the front of my image, and that's just no good. Here I have a piece of white cardstock. I failed to mention, this is Paper Studio cardstock that I'm using right here, but the color, the cardstock I used for the Copic, or the alcohol oh my word, hold on. The paper I used for the alcohol marker coloring, the artist markers, the Altenew ones, that was HAMMERMILL. What I did is I sprayed the front and the back lightly of this Paper Studio cardstock, and then I ran that through my Spellbinders Platinum. And that embossing folder is absolutely beautiful. This is probably my favorite one I have in my collection. That is stunning. I took this Spellbinders die. It is the second just plain circle in, second largest circle, and I cut out some Paper Studio colored cardstock that I felt played off of the small flowers very well. And I glued those flowers together in just a little cluster that I thought looked nice and kind of helped fill in the card. But what I want to do is I want to take a little section of this circle and I'm going to put it on each end of this card. This is going to be a landscape card. And so I want just a little bit of this plain colored cardstock on each end. I tried to get it to where it looked like it was somewhat even and level side to side. I played with that for a long time. I think my eyes were playing tricks on me. Is it perfect? No. Is it close enough for government work? Absolutely. So I'm just going to flip this over, snip off the rest, and then put the other end on there also. So now I'm going to I liked this arrangement. I'm going to put a little dollop of glue right there just so it keeps these all together. And then I'm going to take Altenew Instant Dimension foam tape and I'm going to put that all over the back of this image. I wanted this to pop off the card just a little bit, and instead of having two pieces that I'm chasing around my desk, if I just tack them together, then I only have one larger image to chase around instead of two. And that just kind of helps me. So I'm just going to take this Instant Dimension foam tape from Altenew and I'm going to place this all over the back of this die cut. And then, sorry, I realized that my phone was a little crooked. I'm just going to place this tape all over the back. I glued that embossed panel straight down to my card base flat, and then I glued the floral image, and here I am just pressing it down firmly once I was pleased and happy with the positioning. Now for a sentiment. I went back to that Altenew stamp set and picked out that Happy 8. I picked out a Hugs. I wanted something very small, and I wanted it to kind of nestle in this bottom corner, and so that is the sentiment that I chose, and I just used my scissors to kind of fussy cut that out. Right here, I went through my stash, and these gems are from BLINGEE Thingy on Etsy. I will make sure I put that in the description box below, and there were teeny tiny ones in there, and they are like a iridescent gem, and they are super pretty, and I put those on the floral centers of the small flowers. I found it was easier just to put like a dollop of glue all over and then go back in and put the gems in the place, instead of putting the gems in place, picking it up and putting the dollop of glue down like I normally do. For this, it was easier just to go through and put the gems, the dollops of glue down first and then put the gems in place. Here I have taken my scissors and I fussy cut around and kind of blocked off that Hug sentiment from that stamp set. I used an acrylic block and some VERSAFINE Onyx black ink to stamp this out, and then I put more of that Instant Dimension foam tape behind it, and I played with the positioning for a while, wondering where I kind of wanted to put it, and I settled on this kind of bottom right corner, kind of nestled in toward the image, and I really liked how that turned out. I think this is a really pretty card. You could add sparkle, you could add glossy accents to the centers, you could add a shimmer spray over the entire thing, you could add black splatter. I just liked how it was right here. I thought it was really pretty. So that is the card project for today. Thank you so much for spending time with me. I hope you feel inspired, and we will see you next time. Bye.